Hello and welcome to Entirely English. Our Naval Idiom Odyssey continues, where we look at English idioms which are commonly used today that have their origins in the Royal Navy from hundreds of years ago. For speakers of other languages learning English, these are very useful. I believe that knowing the origin gives you some context and helps you visualize the idiom. Anyway, today we are going on with our idioms beginning with R. I have about 9 of them. One of them's a bit, so I'm going to do 4 on this video, and then there'll be a part 2 with the other 5. Doing 4 on this video because one of them has 4 different contexts. And it is one I mentioned before. I gave you the challenge. It was either on idioms L or K. This idiom begins with R, so we will do it last, just to keep you interested. All right, so our first idiom is to rock the boat. And this is the one which is a bit tenuous. It is not necessarily related to the Navy, but it is a maritime one. It is related to ships and boats, obviously. The big ships, the naval ships, could be rocked. That's when they're moved from side to side, tilting one way and the other, by storms, by large waves, and that can be a problem because on those large ships, particularly the warships, the cannons could roll around. We've talked about how dangerous they are. On the cargo ships, the cargo could be rocked about, and imagine the ship goes that way, the cargo goes that way, it's going to make it list even further, and you get this progressive swing motion, and people can be thrown overboard. Cargo can be lost. The ship could ultimately turn over, although they were designed very well, actually. With the boats, say fishing boats or smaller boats, the rock the boat, that could happen when somebody got up and moved from one side to the other. If you were on a very small, imagine a rowing boat. It's a very, very clear example. If you're ever on a rowing boat, at the rowing boats, and you get up and you move to the other side, the boat will go like that. And it can be the same on a fishing vessel. They are several times larger, but people moving around could cause the boat to rock. So when you rock the boat, you caused a problem. You cause some difficulty, a challenge. And we use it again these days, not in the maritime sense, but in any sense where you're causing a problem. It's often used in the negative. We'd say, the new regulations promoting electric cars have already been approved. Don't rock the boat by bringing up arguments about the pollution they cause and the fact that our electrical systems are not up to the task of all these cars being on electric. Don't rock the boat. Don't cause a problem. You can use it in the positive. You can say, he rocked the boat when he told everybody that the president was lying. Okay? Our next one is to run the gauntlet. To run the gauntlet. This has, it's one of our negative meanings. When somebody was punished, maybe they did something which endangered the entire crew. They would have to run around the ship, and the crew would be stood in 2 lines either side, and they'd run between them, and as they ran, the crew would beat them. Sticks with ropes, anything like that. The captain might say they had to run the gauntlet 3 times. They had to go 3 times around the deck being beaten as a punishment. It could be considered as less severe than when you were subject to the cat of 9 tails, keyholing, certainly. But it's still pretty bad because all of those, particularly if what you're being punished for, endangered the ship, the crew would not be lenient with you. They would put their entire backs into that beating. Well, we use the phrase to run the gauntlet these days in a slightly different meaning. It does mean to go through a dangerous situation, or a very difficult situation. To get approval for my holiday, I had to run the gauntlet of going through the management, the HR department, the CEO. It's all the processes you have to go to achieve something. If you've ever had to apply for, say, a visa, you run the gauntlet there. There's all these different problems, all these different things you have to get through. You run the gauntlet. Our next one goes back to that cat of nine tails thing. When you were beaten with a cat of nine tails, it would cut your back. Your back would be slashed open. And one of the things they did, if you survived, not everybody did, but if you did, it's kind of a twofold thing. On the one side, this was a medical procedure. On the other side, it was a procedure to amplify the pain and the punishment. And it is to rub salt into the wound. So when you're cut, you've got these big slashes on your back, they get a handful of salt and rub it in. As I said, part of that is a kind of antiseptic. It stops or reduces the chance of infection. The other side of that coin is it is extremely painful. And we use this idiom nowadays to talk about something which is extra on top of something bad. I applied for a time off, and not only did the manager refuse it, but to rub salt into the wound, he told me I had to do overtime this weekend. It's an additional punishment. All right, and our last one, this one which was your challenge from the previous idioms one, is ropes. They are the core of several things, and we've mentioned them many times before. So to recap, if you look at the pictures of the ship, you can see that ropes constitute a big part of the mechanics. They control the sails, they control the winches, they hold the cannons in place. They are everything. They have the rope netting to climb up and down. It's called the rigging. And if you look at the number of ropes, it's quite mind-boggling. So one of the first things you had to do when you started working on a ship was learn the ropes. Find out which rope controlled which sail or which pulley, which rope held things in place. If the captain told you to release a sail and you pulled the wrong rope and it made the cannon roll across the deck, you'd be in trouble. You'd run the gauntlet. So to learn the ropes is that first thing you have to do when you started working on a ship. We do the same thing today. When you start working in a company, you have to learn the ropes. You have to find out what your password is to get onto the computer, how the organization of break times is set up, and what to do when something goes wrong with the computer. Who do you call? Learn the ropes. Learn how the company runs. And then with that same idea of the ropes on the ship, you started working on the ship. They might say to they might say to Cutlass Dave, Dave, show him the ropes. So to show him the ropes. Dave would be his mentor. He would teach him about the ropes. And again, you start in that company and they might say, Dave, show him the ropes, particularly let him know where the bathrooms are. So you learn the ropes, you're shown the ropes, you will study the ropes, obviously. As you're learning, you study them, and eventually you will know the ropes. Dave will show you the ropes because he knows the ropes. You know what rope controls what. Ropes, very, 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 very important thing in the Navy. Right, that brings us to the end of part 1. In part 2, we will do the other 5, and I'll try to get them both up today. Okay, thanks for watching. Do come back for the second part, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye now.